Hello and welcome. You join me for the second part of my street view exploration video of the San Antonio riverside in Texas, USA. We're here by the river and not too far, I think, from the historic cathedral. The presence of the cathedral is perhaps the explanation for this older tree, while we've had a lot of newer plantation along the riverside earlier on. We start to see things that have clearly been here for a little bit longer, even if most of the building development around is considerably younger. And I think we can see that the masonry here, the brickwork, is a lot older than most of what we've seen so far. So what we're going to do in this episode is we are going to follow the river around its course over here, which is going to be through this little portal, and we'll see how far we get, and then we'll perhaps continue down south, perhaps looking at a few of these photospheres. But before we do that, I think we're going to have to take a small detour over to the cathedral. A real tangle of streets here. We'll see what we find. Okay, so here we are. Oh great, here we are on the plaza. So not so much a tangle, just a tangle of coverage, as perhaps the backpacker who's filming this moved around on the square. Well, first of all, I think we ought to comment on the cathedral. It is the Cathedral San Fernando. Very much reminiscent of the church architecture that you might see on the Iberian Peninsula. More Spanish than Portuguese, certainly. Seems rather small for a cathedral. Not that it's tiny, but European cathedrals certainly tend to be a lot larger. I don't know about you, but it feels as though there's a little something missing from the tops of these towers. They could do with a steeple, although they would probably end up looking a lot more Gothic then. And this is, I suppose, what we would call colonial architecture. When it was built, I'm uncertain. I wonder if we can find out at all. Well, we'd have to leave Street View, which we're not going to do on this occasion. At a guess, I would say this could have been constructed in the 18th century, maybe even as early as the 17th. I would be surprised if it were any earlier than that. Although, in fact, we're reasonably far west here, so thinking about expansion into the North American continent, I would say later is more likely. So perhaps I'll let my estimation stand at 18th century, though it may be even more recent than that. It is a pity, isn't it, to have a hearse parked outside. Something a little bit ominous about that. But it is, of course, a working holy building, so funeral services, marriages, baptisms, Sunday masses, all must proceed, regardless of what I would like to see outside the church. Wow, now that's something, isn't it? We will get back to the riverside, don't worry, but having spotted this, I think it bears investigation. Hoping to get onto the plaza here, but perhaps we can't, so in fact the best view may be from just over here. That, I presume, is the state flag of Texas, and this is the Bexar Heritage Center, some kind of museum, a theatre, an arts centre. And now this is an interesting mixture of styles, I would say. Very much Italianate, lower down, these, well, I say that, although, there's something about the kind of the roundedness of the arches here that really reminds me more of Spain than Italy, and perhaps calls to mind most of all Mexican architecture. And indeed, probably this far south in the state of Texas, this almost certainly was at one point Mexican territory, though I would be surprised. Oh, it's the courthouse, the county courthouse. I would be surprised if no, I don't know if I could say when this was built. 19th century would be my guess. So not knowing my Texas history, I'm uncertain as to which nation the territory of Texas belonged to at that time. Whether it was the Mexicans or indeed the Americans, the Statesians, what do we call you? So that very much southern Europe inspired to my mind, but then this on top, this sort of pointed hat, besides reminding me of the, what are they called in one of those, in the new Mario game, in Mario Wonder. Not that I've played it, but I've seen it. They're called the Poplins or something. They're kind of like the new Toads. They've got this sort of shape of hat. Besides reminding me of that, it also reminds me of some of the dome-shaped roofs that I've seen in Paris, usually as kind of decorative punctuations at the end of a long row. Well, only other thing to say about that, I suppose, is I like to see the red sandy colour here, a little bit different to the more sort of yellow sandy colour that we see on most of the other buildings. But with that, I do believe it is time to get back to the main attraction, which is of course the riverside. So I'm going to try and take us back to where we were. I was hoping to go through that portal, so in fact we'd be on this side. Yeah, and it was roughly here that we left off at the end of the first video, so let's now proceed through this doorway and carry on around the diverted course. First time we've seen a bit more seating here actually, and we begin to see, unfortunately, discarded refuse right next to the bin. That is a pity. But perhaps these chaps here are going to clean it up. No, they look more like they're on gardening duty. Indeed, in such a dry, hot climate, it must take a lot of water, a lot of irrigation to keep this riverside looking so green and lush. And in fact, look over here. Some kind of a barge, a floating pleasure palace. Yeah, no, this is the sort of scene that I'd come across in Google Images that had made me interested in taking this street view exploration trip. It's a great scene, isn't it? There's something very pleasing about the different elevations of streets. We've got the main street up here. We're down here by the riverside. A little bit lower down, we've got the boat. Then we've got a kind of an upper concourse here. Lovely pink flowers. And then even higher up, we've got the upper floors of these taller buildings. Something just really exciting about being in a place with lots of different levels of elevation. And yeah, I do like these little archways. Isn't this lovely? Wouldn't this be a fantastic place to have a meal? Sitting in the sun, or under the shade for that matter. Enjoying the heat, enjoying the hubbub. Lovely curved bridge here. I think that's the first instance of a curved bridge we've seen. Most of the rest has been just straight parallel, but of course variety is king. Now, now I'm taken straight back to Lisbon in Portugal, and or Spain for that matter, seeing these lovely blue and white patterned tiles. You often see them on the sides of buildings in Portuguese cities, or adorning the steps of staircases is not at all uncommon in Spain. What a great place for a day out. Now this, lots of I don't know if it's necessarily a Portuguese influence, but I'm reminded a lot of Portugal in the area of Baixa, in the Portuguese capital Lisbon. There is an elevator to nowhere that looks just like this. I can't remember quite what it's called. The elevador, the San Isidoro, maybe? Can't quite recall. But it's a lot taller, the one in Portugal, but the design, this kind of exposed metalwork, certainly reminds me of it. So interesting. I was thinking of those Buddhist prayer sheets, but I'm not sure if that is what we've got there. Really nice, the stonework here. Kind of looks as though it's been eaten into. I wonder what kind of stone this is. Probably all these little holes in it, like a Swiss cheese. It was formed by some kind of geological process that, if I were particularly clever, I would be able to describe for you. And I like the trying to get rid of the arrow for you. I like the variety of paving styles that we can see here. More of this kind of inconsistent Spanish stonework that I was describing in the first episode of this exploration. You know, it almost feels a little bit European here, you know. There's something about the... I suppose it's the way that it's a place designed specifically for pedestrians that just feels not very common in North America. You know, the Americas, such car-centric places. And that, of course, is because of the history, the way that they were settled, and the huge distances involved. But I think it makes a big difference, you know. What have we got going on here? A little bit of fairy lighting. I wonder what this is like to walk around in at night. In fact, one of the pities of Street View, of course, is that you are almost always walking around in the day, and this is why exploring a place in Street View is just not comparable to exploring it in real life. We don't have the option to return in the evening to see how the place changes. We'll have to jump onto the map for a moment to see if we can keep moving around. But before we do, just take a moment to admire what we've got here. The air conditioning facing outwards for the benefit of the people walking in the public space. Isn't that thoughtful? I wonder if we can jump across over here. I think I would like to be on the other side. So we want to jump over to, being careful not to get onto the bridge, onto the upper level, just here. And we have ended up on the bridge. Not to worry. It may be that perhaps we could jump. Yeah, here we go. We can jump a little bit further and then perhaps walk back on ourselves. Just wanted to take a look at this section here. It doesn't look as though we can walk onto it, but we can get a sense of what it would be like. Isn't this interesting? A little bit different. Not so much a canal side walk as kind of what do we call this? A jetty, a pontoon, a sort of. I suppose it's a bridge. You know, it's over water, and these big concrete pillars. Not sure what we call those. Bollards, maybe. little bit different out of keeping with what we've got here. I suppose the thing that it brought to mind for me here was the zoo. I'm not sure why, but again, I mentioned that some of the northern part of the Riverwalk felt a bit like a theme park. This feels as though we could be on a kind of protected walkway over the enclosure. I don't know, the crocodile enclosure. There would undoubtedly be a bit more protection if there were crocodiles in this river. I wonder if you get alligators here. You certainly would a bit further east in Louisiana, in the bayou. But over here in Texas, who knows? Yeah, now we start to get into something that feels almost like a bit of a shopping centre. Chocolate factory, or is this all eateries by the looks of it? But a really great place to take a stroll through, I wouldn't doubt. And doesn't the water just look lovely here as well? I wonder about taking one of those boat rides. Were they boat rides, do you think, or were they perhaps just pontoons that you could step onto? But would it even be worth taking a boat ride when so much of the riverside you can walk right up close to? Well, at least you don't have to walk. You can enjoy the extent of the river from the comfort of your seat. Hoping not to go up these stairs. Let's see if we can jump over here. Ooh, that's quite lovely, isn't it? I think that would be a really nice covered balcony to walk out to and enjoy the heat of a summer evening. Navigating the coverage is proving a little bit difficult here, but nonetheless it's nice to see the riverside from different elevations. Wow, what a fantastic tree. I can't be certain, I think it may be an olive tree, but no, surely not. No, it's not an olive tree. An olive tree that big would be hundreds and hundreds, even 1,000 years old. I'm not sure if olive trees can even get that big, to be honest. Now let's just take a look here. Okay, so the San Antonio Riverwalk does extend further this way, or we might go back on ourselves and rejoin the main course. I think we're going to have to take a gander over here at the Riverwalk Park, as it's labelled on the map. A bit of a park, perhaps. But something I certainly do admire about Americans is that they are not ashamed to fly their flag, as we sometimes are in the United Kingdom and in other places in Europe. I think there's nothing wrong with flying a flag. I think it if you put aside the associations that some people have with nationalism and so forth, it's just a splash of colour and a little bit of something moving in the wind, just an extra something to beautify the environment. Not that all flags are beautiful, some more so than others. But speaking of beauty, this is a truly lovely area. I like these flower beds. Yeah, lots to enjoy here. A map there. A map of the river not orientated to north, interestingly, but perhaps is this orientated so that when you face it, you are looking at the river this way? No, just a completely misorientated map. But hey, no worries. Feels as though It's getting on for evening in this coverage, early evening. Sun beginning to sink behind this lovely rock wall. Really enjoy the variety of textures, of shades and shapes. Really pleasing to look at. And then these kind of bottle brush looking flowers here. I'm almost completely unfamiliar with North American botany, so I'm sure they're not bottle brushes. I don't know what kind of plant they would be. What do we have here? Some kind of Jesuit monk, perhaps? Holding the infant Christ? Unusual. Wonder what they're working on over here. This coverage is October 2021. So I wonder what may have changed in the intervening not quite 4 years. More of a kind of a shopping arcade style here. And I don't seem to be able to walk forward any further. We may have to jump. Perhaps we can jump over to this end here. Yes. He spotted the street view camera. But yeah, this is really quite a scene, isn't it? Really like the kind of the shapes here, drawing your eye into the Marriott sign. We are not sponsored on this channel, at least not just at the moment. Not sponsored by Marriott Hotels. But if you would like to get in touch and put me up in San Antonio, I would be very happy to make a companion video actually walking in person along the riverside here. That was a really nice frame actually, that last one with the 2 boats, in fact 3 boats. Yeah, lots of activity on the river. Just looks like a lovely place to spend a few hours strolling. Okay, well I think we've seen enough from the other side of the river of this section, so we're going to head back to the main bit of the diversion. Just make sure we're heading in the right direction, which we are. Back to this arched bridge. Or perhaps this is a different one in fact. Wonder who these fellows are. The Little Rhine Posthaus. Some kind of German restaurant, perhaps. And a bit of a kind of amphitheatre style seating here. Now normally we would associate this with a theatre, but this wouldn't be the most convenient place to put on a performance, would it? You'd be getting in the way of the pedestrians, and you might well fall in the drink. But I suppose it's just for seating. I like the way this is kind of elevated on a bit of a bank here. And into the shade of these trees. Considerably darker now. Getting deep into the evening. Looks as though whoever recorded this coverage may well have walked round in the same way that we have, in the same direction, as the day has passed as we proceed. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible place to have a flat, would it? I'd want to be up in one of the upper floors though, for certain, because I imagine that this may be a little bit noisy with pedestrian activity and possibly quite late into the night, especially since there are bars and restaurants around. So, yeah, to avoid the noise pollution, you'd want to be high up. Getting a glimpse of the side of that courthouse tower. And as the evening draws on and we return to the main section of the river where the coverage seems to end, I begin to feel that we may be reaching the end of our journey. Just before we call time on this, I'm going to take a look at a few of these photospheres. Wow, okay, not what I expected. Looks as though these may all be bits of hotel coverage. So let's get on to the river walk here. Oh, no, more hotel. Well, I think that's a sign that it is time to end our exploration of the riverside. I will be back exploring another interesting place in an interesting city in an interesting country. If you've enjoyed the music in this video, then you might want to take a look at my first channel where I upload all the music that I write. And I'll see you again next time.